All right, that looks good. Try to get us onto Periscope. Title. On keyboard. Such a first world problem. Too many keyboards. Oh, really need to get this microphone to stop picking up that sound. Alrighty, so it looks like, all things being equal, we're getting live on Periscope and on Facebook. Why don't you hey hi to the nice folks while I double check this, just in case.
Hey everyone, welcome to the BA Zone's pre-show, our home away from home. We're just getting set up for today's live show, where we'll be discussing 3 steps to requirements workshops, JAD success, joint application design success. So our live show will begin in how many minutes, Kathleen?
I don't know. I'd have to get the timer going. What time is it?
It is now, I guess about 12 minutes.
Okay, why am I not seeing us on Facebook?
I don't see us on Facebook either. It was just in there.
Oh, that's not good. What's going on? Well, I'm trying to figure this out. Well, actually, I was going to ask you to go check YouTube, but I don't know that you have that link.
Let me see.
Okay, no, it looks like on Facebook we have 1:10 still.
Okay.
I'll take
So
that
is it
for the
just
win.
Periscope? Just the folks on Periscope?
I guess so. I have to try to get into something so I can verify that. What did I do with my phone this time? There we go.
Some more behind the scenes viewing.
Yeah, you know, real life. Come on, Periscope. Okay, yes, we just seem to be up on Periscope. I now have to try to get the comments up on Periscope.
Okay. How's everybody doing tonight on Periscope? It is it's been a blustery, chilly week inside my house as well as outside of my house.
Oh, geez, you still don't have the heater hooked up?
Still do not have the furnace hooked up, no.
This is not good.
No, it's sort of like camping out. And I have never really camped out, or, I guess a lot of people like camping out. If you like camping out, throw us something in comments and tell us why you like camping out, because it's a little chilly to me.
Well, at least if you're camping out, you can start a fire.
Yeah.
But that's kind of hard inside the house.
Yeah, that's not working. Well, you do see a fireplace behind us, so that's been going nonstop, but that's only, it doesn't take care of the upstairs. So we all sort of cluster down here in the living room. But it's been fun. Kids came over, grandkids came over and had a sleepover, and, we told them it was like camping outside. So,
well, they're young. They can handle it, right?
Right. They had a great time. How's everybody doing out on Periscope?
Yeah, I'm still trying to get the comments up.
Did we ever get up on Facebook yet? Are we up on Facebook?
Maybe you could check that for me while I try to do this one.
Sure can. Yeah.
Oh, really? Could we not double the sound, please? That would be very nice. There we go. I like one-button solutions.
We are up on Facebook, it looks like.
Oh, good. Hello, Facebook.
Hello, Facebook. Welcome to the BA Zone's pre-show. How's everybody doing tonight? We're just setting up for tonight's live show, and tonight we're going to be discussing 3 steps to requirements workshop or joint application design success. And our live show will begin in about 10 minutes. So in the meantime, did anybody catch last week's show on interviews? We had a great time and we got a lot of positive feedback on that one. So if you didn't catch it, if you'd like to watch it again, you can check it out on periscope.tv/the BA Zone or facebook.com/the BA Zone, or you can go to our webpage, thebazone.com. We had a whole bunch of folks, I guess, watching replays from all over the world. So we can give a shout out to some of those places our viewers are from. You can listen for your city, or you can let us know where you're from if you're on this show live. We'd love to know that. We've been all over the United States and Dubai. A few folks from Hamburg, Germany.
Your sound is dropping out. Can you like get closer to your mic or something? It's like getting warbly like every other word or so.
How is it better?
I won't know until you talk for a minute or so.
It might be. Hopefully, it's not your headset again. But
no, because unfortunately, I can hear myself just fine, which is part of the problem.
Oh my goodness!
It's not a lot of fun listening to yourself on a half a second delay.
Okay, how's that? Testing 1, 2.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. I'll keep an ear on it.
Okay.
Oh, see, now it just dropped again. What the heck's going on?
I do not know. I'm not moving. I'm not touching anything.
Did you run a speed test before you logged in?
No, I didn't. But
okay, maybe do a quick one just to see what we're looking at, just in case you're having a problem there.
Okay.
Remember how to do it?
Yeah, kind of vaguely. I've done it in a long time. Let's see. No. I am moving pretty quickly on the internet here, so
it's your upload number that matters, not the download.
All right, walk me through this one more time, Kat.
Go into the URL and type speed space test. That should bring up Google, and at the top it should have something about a speed test with a button to start it.
Yeah, let's hang on a second. I'm getting a different speed test.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, there's other ones out there too. You can, the one I was suggesting is just the Google one, which is really quick.
It is. Do you want the upload or the download?
The upload is the important number.
Okay, hang on. 6.18.
Okay, not great, but it should work. All right, we'll just keep an ear on it. See, folks, isn't it fun getting all this set up? Don't you wish you were us? No, you don't.
She doesn't envy any of us.
Oh, you know, I mean, it is amazing that we can do it at all, but it doesn't mean it's easy.
Okay, so we have about 5 minutes before we get to our live show. Sorry about that little technical issue.
It's all part of the fun. Right, it's all a big party. Do we have a trivia question for them? I can bring up Tink and Murphy.
Yeah, okay, so we're 5 minutes up, and it's time for this week's pre-show trivia question brought to you by Tinker and Murphy. And this week's question is, according to Greek mythology now, who was the first woman on Earth? And it was not Kathleen.
That's so funny. I was just thinking, and it wasn't me?
I know, it wasn't Kathleen. But ponder that, and we'll give you that answer just before we go live on the live show. So as I was saying before my sound was dropping out, and Kathleen, let me know if that continues to happen. Mm-hmm. We were giving a shout out to some of the folks that were giving us likes all, on our previous shows. And we actually got Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. That was kind of exciting. Reminds me of that song, you know, when my baby smiles at me, I go to Rio de Janeiro. Yes, that's the karaoke portion of our show, and that's all I've got. Hey, if you're just joining us, welcome to the BA Zone's live pre-karaoke show. We're about to get started in about 4 minutes. Tonight's topic is 3 steps to requirements workshops, JADs, joint application design, or as some of them are being called joint application requirements, JARs. And there's all kinds of little acronyms out there for what we're doing. Oh my goodness.
You see our new toy?
No, do that again. Ooh, hello world. Now you can say hello to the world. Hello,
Yeah, so,
world.
yeah, it's I can take select Facebook comments and bring them up.
Nice. Kathleen is learning more and more.
Now the question is, how do I stop it? Oh, wait, here we go. That's
How
it.
do we?
That should stop.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, there's all these things, there's all this functionality, and I have to figure out how to make it all work for us. Because, sleep is for the weak.
Sleep is for the weak. That's why I'm having my cup of tea at this hour.
That's where I consider myself lucky. I can still drink a pot of coffee and go to sleep. It's a wonderful thing.
I don't sleep. That's a wonderful thing.
That's why I can do it. See, I'll bring the puppies back up again.
Tink and Murphy, it must be time for that answer. Do we have any guesses out there? According to Greek mythology, who was the first woman on Earth? Any guesses? Okay. The answer is, ready for it? Drum roll. Pandora. Pandora was considered the first woman on Earth in Greek mythology. And we're about to open our own box of controlled chaos here at the BA Zone.
Please, please, please let it be controlled tonight.
Control that chaos. That's mainly what our lives are about, isn't it? Controlling the chaos.
That's the goal.
Control. Probably not in control.
I'll settle for the illusion of control tonight.
This is true. This is very true.
All right, let's see here. I think, other than the fact that I forgot to get on Instagram, which I'm going to have to do something about. Oh, people are throwing us hearts. Thank you for the hearts on Periscope. That's so kind, especially on a night when we're juggling.
Thank you, thank you.
Hearts are a lovely thing.
I know.
I just wish I could see comments when they came up, but we'll keep trying. I'm trying to get the silly thing to work. Let me try.
We're getting there.
Yeah, well, Periscope is going to be the problem for a while because for some reason nobody seems to be able to get the comments. Like, they can't seem to handle the comments the way that other tools are out there for other pieces of software. Whoops, sorry. Let me try that again.
If anybody can help us with that, feel free to leave us a comment.
No, unfortunately, there is no solution right now, but I keep hoping somebody's going to step up and figure it out or that they're going to fix it because I hate missing when people are commenting. I really want to interact with everybody out there on Periscope, too. So please, Periscope, if you're commenting and we're not responding, just keep commenting. I have several windows open, so I'm hoping one of them might catch you.
Right. Or go to thebazone.com when you get a chance and drop us a comment, too. We'd love that, too. And it looks like it's a magic hour.
Yes, actually it is. So here, let me...
So we are ready to go?
Over here, and then we can do the official start. I have to find us some official music or something. But another day for that.
When my baby... Well, no, I won't.
Oh, no, because Facebook will kill us if you start singing copyrighted music. Please, I just got it working. Okay.
Hello, and welcome to the BA Zone Live. Tonight we're going to talk about the 3 steps to a successful requirements workshop or joint application design, JAD. Have you ever attended a facilitated requirements workshop or a JAD session? If you have, just give us a yes or a Y in the comment, or if you haven't, just a no or an N, just to let us know where we stand. This session is a continuation of our deeper dives into our series that was titled 10 Techniques for Better Requirement Gathering and Elicitation. And you can catch all of them in the series on periscope.tv, the BA Zone, facebook.com, the BA Zone, or our website, bazone.com. And please share this session.
Because we don't think that we're struggling enough here, I think we're live on YouTube. Shh. Don't say it too loud, it might break again.
Goodness gracious. Wow. Okay, great. And please share this session or invite anyone you think would be interested in this information. So before we kick things off, as usual, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Marianne Morrison.
And I am Kathleen Sinnott.
Sometimes.
Most of the time.
And we are founders of the BA Zone. We created the BA Zone to help everyone who creates and maintains business and technical requirements. And whatever your business analysis questions are, we can help you get to where you need to be. Okay, I think we're ready. So let's get started with the presentation. And let's bring that.
Yeah, one sec. Sorry, I was trying to push our luck, but it's not going to happen. So yes, 1 second, and I will bring that up. There you go.
Yay! Okay, so let's start with a definition of what a requirements workshop is. A requirements workshop is, a structured collaborative meeting led by a facilitator, and it's with a select group of people. And what you're going to get out of that is you're going to, discover, discuss, define, refine, or validate requirements. Requirements workshops are also used for a whole bunch of other things, but this is, specific to requirements. They're also referred to, in the past, they've been referred to JAD, if you've heard that before, Joint Application Design. And the newer ones, JAR, Joint Application Requirements, and there's a couple of other ones, Joint Application Planning, I think, is another one. But that is, your standard definition. When would you use workshops? You're going to use a workshop for projects that require rapid ideation, requirement solicitation, design, and consensus across a multi or cross-functional group of players, whether they be customers, users. And typically you see workshops used more or less on larger projects. That's not a standard, but you do see it more on larger projects due to the costs associated with the workshops. You'll also see workshops being used for the scoping of projects or requirements in order to keep scope creep to a minimum or to get that under control. Also for prioritization of requirements, whether it be phases, releases, iterations of features, enhancements, etc. And they're also really handy to resolve and refine confusing or conflicting requirements among key stakeholders, users, etc. And that's that. Do you want to take this one, Kathleen, or you want to just let me?
Yeah, I can jump in on this one if you want.
Okay.
I'll switch our little windows even. Give you a chance to have a sip of tea there. There you go. Okay, so why should you use workshops? These are really handy when there's large amounts of viable information that's out there, but you need to collect it in a very short amount of time. So you get all the bodies in one room and start pulling all the information out of them. You'll also find that these kinds of sessions will promote innovative thinking and even collaborative, not only ownership of results, but also of information. So by getting them all in the room, there'll be that initial uncomfortable, maybe, first few minutes if these folks haven't worked together before. But you'll find that as they start to focus on the topics at hand, the problems, the issues, that they will all start to work together, which is a lovely thing. And this can apply whether you're doing everybody in the same room or if you're doing them remote. It requires a little bit of extra effort on your part if you're the one running the meeting to make sure that you keep the remote people engaged in it. You'll also find that it provides a holistic view of the history and the shared learning. You'll get information from people that you might not have gotten any other way, mainly because by, again, having them all talking and sharing the information at the same time, it may trigger things that may not have occurred to them to mention if they had just been talking to you one-on-one. And it reduces overall costs, by improving the requirements design, getting the buy-in for the future project implementation, and by identifying issues and conflicts prior to development. So while the goal is always to get everybody on the same page and working towards the same goal, you will quickly find out if you do have one or two pockets of potential problems in the future as the process goes along. If you pay close attention to the body language and the way people are phrasing things, you'll very quickly pick up on any potential problems that are coming your way. Hopefully none, but it could happen.
Kathleen, you and I have been in quite a few different types of workshops, from working, in our particular office, conducting or facilitating. We've attended them and facilitated them.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. And we've done them on site at customers, in their offices. We've done them in our offices. We've done them off site in different things. And there's a lot of there's a lot of particulars that go on. I mean, as you were saying, there's a lot to consider when you have remote folks dialing in. There's different issues with that. There's different issues with folks in-house, keeping them focused and not working on their day-to-day, jobs. Just getting them locked in that room. And basically, when you're in a workshop, that's pretty much it. You're in that room for a period of time. They bring in lunch. There's bathroom breaks, obviously, but
only if everybody's very good.
That's right. If you're good, you don't get that bag. You get to go to the bathroom. We've done them in.
And these are a special problem now.
They are.
Go ahead.
We leave those at the door. We actually make everybody leave those at the door when we have dinner now. So, collect them in a box because it's become a phenomenon now that everybody is looking at the phone and not at each other.
And for entertainment purposes, you can count the number of times everybody reaches either onto the desk or into their pocket for the phone that's not there.
That's right. That's right. So anyway, you can use these workshops, or you can attend these workshops. We've used them in leadership meetings, even when they do the surveys, the end of the year surveys, and they say what needs improvement. I mean, we've used workshops to do that. So workshops can be used in a multitude of different scenarios. But there are things to consider when you're looking at a workshop as opposed to a group interview. And we have someone just popping up here. That was nice.
Yes, so that's Amy. I could read that to you because I know that it was probably hard for you to say. Amy said that she managed 2 requirements meetings earlier this year. Collaboration was cool, especially with each person offering their strengths and expertise. That's exactly what we're talking about. That sometimes these can be an invaluable resource for information that you might not have gotten otherwise, or you might not have gotten in a timely fashion otherwise.
That's right. It's locked in someone's head, or we're just not out there. There are things to consider when you're talking about workshops. That's the next slide. And they are time consuming and they can be expensive, but they are totally worth it, as Kathleen and Amy both said. You do get a tremendous amount of information, but you are going to have to commit, 2 to 3 days in length. It's a time commitment for the participants if you're the facilitator or a facilitation team. And, I've been in workshops that can go 5 days at a client. So, 2 to 3 is the average. They're typically conducted away from the office, so you can get away from the day-to-day. But, as things get more expensive, people try to keep them in-house, and they are trying more and more remote. It's a little more challenging. It can be done. So depending on the location, there's, additional expenses like travel expenses, lodging, meals, the venue that you select, and any type of remote software installs that you might have to do. Most of them require a skilled facilitator or a facilitation team and a scribe, someone to take notes. You can, as a BA, absolutely do these facilitations, but they do require a lot of practice. There's a lot of moving parts in them. You really need to know what you're doing. You can absolutely get there, and we can help you get there. But if you're a new business analyst, this is something that you'd recommend hiring a skilled facilitator until you get up to speed on it. It does require a lot more preparation time. That time is valuable, even more valuable when you're off-site, considering the expense it takes to get everyone there. So there's days and days of preparation time and coordination involved with getting everyone in the same spot. It is a more structured approach. You can make it seem that it's not a structured approach, but in the background, just like what we do every day on live streaming, there's a lot more structure in place than what it looks like. It's a little more difficult than, we can make it look easy, but there's a lot going on in the back end. And because of the expense, it may require you present or justify and get approval to proceed from who's ever sponsoring the project or your direct manager. And another thing to consider besides time and expense is that multiple workshops can typically occur within one workshop. So what do I mean by that? You can have multiple techniques going on with different groups of people in the same workshop at the same time. So managing that or facilitating that and making sure everyone stays on track it's exciting, but it's a little bit more than what you're used to, like in a group interview. And Kathleen, do you have any challenges that you've come across in any of these venues, or when you're doing workshops? You facilitated some as well, I think, right?
I have, and so I'm going to tell you, learn from my experience. I don't be over proud, because I got some pushback on the last one that actually I tried to do. They wouldn't let me bring somebody in, and they also wouldn't let me bring another person from our team in. They wanted me to do it by myself, and I did, but it doesn't work as well. You really do need somebody other than the person who's handling the meeting, taking the notes. I juggled as best as I could, but I won't kid you, it was not pretty. So absolutely, even if you have to sneak somebody in there, do it that way, because it's just not possible for you to handle all of these people or whoever is running the meeting. Because I find it's really good when I'm teaching people to do this, to maybe the first time have them be in the room taking the notes, so that they're there, they see the interaction, they see what the process is, and by taking the notes, they kind of get a feel for the kind of information you get out of it. And sort of do like the Grey's Anatomy, what is it? See one, do one, teach one. So have them sit in once, take the notes, the next one they can do, and then they can turn around and start teaching. But you really do want to have at least two people, somebody leading it, somebody taking the notes, because that way everything is going to run more smoothly and you're not going to miss any important information.
Right. And you bring up a good point. If there's some really good audio, you can always have a secondary note taker remotely signed in on the phone. But it is difficult to hear if you're doing a one-on-one type of workshop where one person speaks and the other responds, instead of multiple groups doing their own thing, which is the typical multiple group workshop. But if you do have that one-on-one thing, then, it's possible to get some extra notes there.
Right. And so a lot of people, as they're hearing this stream of thought, will go, well, that's silly. Why don't you just record the session? That is certainly something that you can consider, but I will warn you that a lot of people clam up as soon as you tell them that you're recording. And you have to tell them. It's not fair to record people and not tell them. And in some states, it's illegal. So you would need to tell them, but you need to really know the people in the room, because there's no point in doing that if the end result is that a lot of people aren't going to talk, because the whole point of this is the conversation, the talk, getting the information out. And if they clam up on you, you've now defeated your purpose and you're kind of wasting your time. So yes, it is something to consider, but in a lot of cases, you're not going to find it to be really, in the long run, the most efficient way to go about it.
Right. Absolutely.
Not everyone's like us, Mayor, right? They're not used to talking. Actually, I wasn't 3 months ago either.
You put us on camera and you can't shut us up.
See, I gotta understand. Mayor has always been perfectly happy to be the one up front and doing the performance number and handling the meeting. I was always the one that was very happy in the back taking the notes. So you don't understand what a big step it is for me to be on screen like this.
That's right.
I'm much happier being backstage crew.
That's it. We're giving her acting lessons in the background, and she's doing great. She's a natural. It's all right.
Oh no, I like to talk. I just don't like to be on screen.
I mean, Okay, on to the next slide. Okay. Let's talk about preparation for the workshops. You want to take that one, Kath, or do you want me to?
I can certainly take that one. Let's 1 sec. Preparation. One of my favorite things. I'm all about the prep. Okay, so just like in our last conversation about the interviews, this is another situation where it is absolutely imperative that you be 110, and yes, I know, but 110% prepared. You cannot be over-prepared for these kinds of meetings. So you want to make sure that you have clearly defined the goal intent for this workshop, JAR meeting, whatever you want, whatever they're calling it. Everybody's got their own favorite term. We had one group that would only call it JAD. You want to break down the goals and the intents into workable modules. You don't want to throw everything out at once. You want to, if at all possible, make it a logical progression, or at least group things in the best way possible so that people are focused on one thing and not jumping all over the place. You want to try to estimate the amount of time needed. Now, this one's a tough one because, again, you're dealing with a lot of unknown variables with all the people in the room and not knowing what kind of information they're bringing to the table. But do the best you can. Make an estimate, don't get too hardcore about sticking to it, go with the flow of the conversation that's happening, but you do need to sort of, figure it all out, especially since you need to be ready for lunch breaks. Yes, I haven't had dinner yet. Are you noticing a food theme here? Okay, so if you can, by all means, select or engage a skilled facilitator and a scribe. You can try to do both. Like I just warned you, it's really not a great way to go. And if you have to choose between skilled or not for one of the roles, the scribe is definitely the one who can learn on the job. The facilitator is probably better if they've run some sort of meeting before. You want to identify and invite your participants. You need people in the room. You need to give them a little time to arrange their schedule so that they can be there. Select a location that's as far away from work interruptions as possible. This is going to vary based on your realities, but the farther away you can get, the better off you're going to be in that you're going to have their focus. Also, sometimes just being in a different environment also frees up some of those creative juices for people. You get tired of staring at the same four walls all the time, or being in that meeting room where somebody was not nice to you. You kind of carry that vibe with you. Whereas if you can go to a nice, clean environment with no history to it, a lot of people will loosen up a little bit. You want to create and distribute an agenda and any supporting materials in advance of the workshop because you want the people coming to the workshop to be as prepared as they can be. Now, these are probably going to be subject matter experts and they're not going to have days to spend putting together materials for your meeting, but any amount of time that they can put towards the conversation, sorry, dog, I heard somebody outside, any amount of time that they can put towards thinking about your topics will put them in that much of a better position to be helpful in the meeting. Finally, you want to identify your approach per module. What tools, what techniques you want to use, that type of thing. If maybe you want to break things out, into a smaller group, and then bring them back together. This is all going to depend on your situation, the content, the people in the room. And so you're going to want to try to plan that out as much as you can. But again, you want to stay flexible as you go about this. And if you try something and it doesn't seem to be working, don't be afraid to abandon it. And jump in, but I'm sure we'll get into that later. Sorry, I've slipped from preparation into meeting. I tend to do that. All right, Mayor, quick, save me.
Save you where? How are you? The process. Let's talk about the process. The typical meet, greet, and review of any meeting. So you're going to want to introduce everyone, the role of the facilitator and the scribe, and the role of the participants. They do actually have a role. And they need to clearly know what that is. And the way you do that is by, reviewing the agenda items and the goal and intent of the workshop. It needs to be really clear what you're trying to do here so that you keep people focused and not flying off on tangents, which will happen when you get into these workshop settings and people get together that haven't been together, especially when you're dealing with a client. And there may be two teams in a client workshop where you have, representatives of the client and representatives of the company that you are working for. So it's really, you have to be really clear up front as to what the goal and the intent of the workshop is. And with any meeting, you're going to have to set and display the ground rules prominently and refer back to them if people get off track, sort of gently say, oh, that's, let's follow the rule there type of thing. Some of the rules are like everyone participates, irregardless of what your title is. You could try to float that one, but, people pull title stuff a lot. But it's really supposed to be about everybody on an equal playing field as far as their titles. There might be time limits on discussions or conflicts, just to get people moved out of that and moved on to what they need to focus on. And then you're going to select an approach. And, there's a lot of approaches. There's a lot of variations. But a typical one that I've put up here as an example is you want to, split the participants into teams. Now, you're going to have various cross-functional roles in this workshop. And, I've seen before a lot of times where they will do a preliminary sort of like a I forget the name of those, Kathleen, you might know those, what type of character, things do you display? Is it Max and Briggs, or I forget what the name of that one was. But you can sort of figure out who's a leader, sort of who's a follower, who's a creative person. And you can mix up teams that way. You can do that ahead of time. I've seen them do it, and they put us back together in the teams. But you definitely want to split participants up into teams. And a good way to do it is to assign each team a different task to complete within a given time frame. So you might have one team doing workflows, you might have another team working on business rules, and they're typically doing this up on a whiteboard, or they're using stickies across the wall, and they're filling this stuff in. And at the end of that time frame, you switch teams and tasks, and each team builds off of the other, and you continue doing that, switching back and forth, and everyone giving input on all the tasks. And when that's complete and everybody's had a turn, then you bring the teams back together and you review all the outcomes as a group and try to get consensus as to that's the way it currently is. It's like as in an as is, or this is the way it should be. And you want to try to gain consensus. So in these meetings, you want to try to invite people who have the ability to make those decisions. It speeds up the requirements process, and you can get a lot of really solid requirements that everybody agrees on and get that consensus right there in the meeting. So reviewing requirements later is much easier because you already have that built-in buy-in. And that's just one approach. Some of the other things in the process for workshops that a lot of folks say, like, if you're a facilitator of these meetings, you take a neutral role. And you don't, as a facilitator, you don't get involved as much, you're unbiased. But when you're in workshops, and depending on what part, how far down the road you are in a workshop. So for example, if you're creating a new product and you're to the point where this workshop contains developers and business people, and developers are giving you feedback as to why you can or you can't do that. And you may have had conversations with developers prior to this. There is a way that if people are sort of heading down the wrong path and getting exciting about that, it's not so much, you're still being neutral to a degree, but you sort of have to point out to them all the things that could potentially go wrong, and sort of try to gently, you're sort of neutral, but it is your job as the BA or the facilitator to let people know this might be a potential outcome of that. And I think, Kathleen, you would agree with that. You and I do this all the time. We did it a lot with users, and it's a way of sort of leading them. You're still neutral. You're just sort of leading them to discover that this could potentially be an issue by pointing out certain things. Wouldn't you agree on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And, there's also a certain case to be made that, if things are getting a little stagnant, that maybe you could play, one of you could play devil's advocate just to kind of reduce the conversation too. But I think that certainly pays off.
Yeah, so neutral, the term neutral, I get, everybody says everybody be neutral. And I don't want business analysts to think, well, you just sort of sit there and let things happen, because that's not exactly what they mean by that term. Neutral,
Right, that's more about not pushing your own agenda, really, when they say neutral. Right. This is more about, okay, you may have an idea of how you want the project to go, but that doesn't mean that we're right, although most of the time we are. But you just want to make sure that you're moving things along, you're making sure all the different sides are heard, and even making sure your side is heard if nobody else is representing it, but that you're not shoving that down people's throats.
Right. Okay.
Not that we would ever do that. Sorry. Never. No. We're not human. All right. Sorry. I'm jumping off the topic here. It's not good when I don't eat before these. Clearly, that's a bad thing.
No, it's fine.
All right.
Follow up. Communication is key. At the following each day, I think I lost track. And Kathleen, is this your time? Yours a reminder? Does it matter anymore?
That's okay. You started. Go right ahead.
I'll carry on. Sorry.
You're on a roll here.
We try to give everybody a little so you don't get sick of one voice here. At the end of each session for the workshop, you're going to have to do some, or the facilitator actually would do this if you're the facilitator. You want to summarize all the outcomes, review the progress that you've made, and confirm any decisions that were made, and review the parking lot items. And if you missed the last week's show on interviews, the parking lot is simply ideas that come up that might be outside of the current agenda that you're talking about, and you don't want to turn people off. So you just want to note that as something to get back to. So that's a parking lot item. You're also going to want to review any tasks or actions that have been assigned and what the next steps would be for the next day, the next day of the workshop, I should say. So follow up post-workshop. You're going to follow up on any of those outstanding tasks or actions. You may have to schedule additional follow-up meetings, and you're going to then have to take all that wonderful information that has happened, or the facilitator may just actually hand that off to you. So as the BA, you may have to actually consolidate all that information. It depends on, I guess, the facilitation team that you hire, how much they do. But you would have to follow up on the tasks and options and collect and consolidate all of that documentation. Take a lot of pictures if everything's up on whiteboards or walls. Make sure you get your little handy phone out or camera, and make sure you're taking that information in, and you're going to have to distribute all those findings once you have them and decisions back out to the group. And that's where a lot of these workshops that are handled in-house don't always pan out as well. And then they won't allow any more of them because the lack of follow-up. Communication is key to getting all that information out there, and then to keep that ball rolling and actually act on that information that you get in the workshop. Anything else on follow-up, Kathleen?
No, you hit my favorite topic, that it's absolutely crucial that you not only have the meeting, but you actually then share the information.
That's right. And we know all about people not sharing information. And it's
been known to happen.
It is. And it's really the downfall of almost all the projects is lack of communication, and business in general. It's key to anything is communication.
Right, and not to grind on a topic, and not because it might be happening, to somebody I know, but just because you don't get the answers you want doesn't mean that you should keep trying until you get those answers.
Shall we remain nameless?
Yeah, well, it's a friend. I'm asking for a friend.
Oh, key. It's code. It's code, everyone. Okay. Tips for success. For workshops or joint application design. And these are just a few of them. You really want to have on-call technical support to handle equipment failures. I mean, I cannot tell you how many of these workshops we've been in where projectors didn't work. We couldn't even get out to the internet because whoever was managing the room didn't have the password. Any type of conferencing services, make sure they work. This stuff is all critical to the success of a workshop. You don't want to be spending the first hour or two handling this. So if you are facilitating a workshop, you definitely want to start an hour or two earlier, depending on the venue and where it is. If it is being handled at a location outside and there happens to be a concierge service or someone to help you with all that, get that person's name and make sure the room is set up, from drinks to food to lighting to air conditioning. You want to have on-call technical support of all kinds, even to turning on and off the lights. As sometimes they're hidden behind panels, you have no idea where they are. So it's kind of funny, actually, but that's all part of the planning. You want to plan and apply multiple techniques in your workshop. So all these things that we've been talking about prior to this in the 10 ways to gather and elicit requirements for success, you can use in these workshops. So you can use brainstorming and role playing and any of the other techniques that we talked about. And you want to mix it up. You want to have something in your back pocket, as Kathleen was mentioning, if something becomes stagnant. you want to try and switch something up. So you want to plan that all out in advance. And like I said, it's a lot of planning. You want to make your first agenda item an easy one to act as an icebreaker. We've all been to meetings where someone tries to do an icebreaker, and we had talked about this in a previous session also. You may have the wrong type of people in for some of these icebreakers. They may be at a level, an executive level, where they're just not going to be into that icebreaker. However, if you make the agenda item, the first thing to do, an easy one that's actually relevant to the project, it's not sort of just out there, creating something weird. It actually works, and it breaks the ice a little and gets people into the process. A simple item. And you want to be very particular about who you invite. You have to have subject matter experts that are experts within their own area of expertise. So if you have to have, for example, nurses or doctors or developers, you want them to be the subject matter experts in their area. That's where you're going to get the most bang for your buck and get the most information. You can try using, throwing in a user or somebody who's not a subject matter expert, but most of the time you really have to have the folks that are on the front lines and know exactly, everything there is to know about their particular job to make it a successful workshop. And that's just a few tips for success. Kathleen, anything from you? Anything from the bleacher seats?
Actually, I'm going to bring something up, and I'm going to say that I did not pay anybody to say this. I'm just saying other people agree with us. Amy said, I hate when we never hear back after the meeting. I swear, we did not set this up. We did not pay her to say that.
Didn't. But I think we should, because, geez, no, I'm not kidding.
Well, it's been, I'm sure that everybody's got a price. We could probably work something out.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of meetings that you've been, if you've gone to enough of them, that it's like, okay, what happened there? That just sort of went out into the ethereal universe. You have no idea what happened after that. And we try not to do that. That's one of the things.
Yeah, well, and that's also, you don't want to lose any enthusiasm that you've built up in the room, because, now people have, come into this, maybe they didn't know about the project, or maybe they were not enthusiastic about it, but by participating, now they're more invested. You want to keep that momentum going in the right direction. So you absolutely don't want to drop the ball by making them think that they did this and it had no effect.
Right, because if you don't, it's a tremendous comeback that you have to perform to get them to come back in a room ever again to give you information or insights. So
yeah, that's way more than twice the effort. It's more like 10 times the effort once you've dropped that ball.
That's true. That's true. Kathleen, I think we had, didn't we recognize too on the giveaway?
Yes. So for those of you who have been following along with us, and first of all, thank you for that. We do appreciate the repeat business. It's definitely a lot of fun to see the same names starting to show up. We're excited that we're starting to get a little traction with this. So we had done a giveaway by way of a thank you for our early folks. We had given away 2 books, which actually I still have here. These are not the ones we were giving away. These are my books, because I really like these. And so the giveaway ended, and we have our winners, and they have received their books. But we did want to say congratulations to Kimberly and Carrie. By now you should have your books. We hope you enjoy them and that you find them useful the way that I do, because they are 2 of my favorites, or none.
Happy reading.
Yeah, and we'll probably do something else like this again. Maybe we'll do something a little different next time. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. We got a lot of good feedback on it.
Yeah, and if you're anything like me, you'll read 2 pages and fall asleep, and then wake up with the book as it smacks you in the nose. Which I have to tell you, with a book is a lot softer than if you have like a Kindle or a Nook. When that thing hits you in the nose, you really know it.
Oh yes.
Oh yes. Okay. All right. What else? Are there any other business here?
Let me see. What else? Oh, okay. So we just wanted to let you know that if you wanted to learn more about this, and let me hang on one second while I bring this up.
And actually, while she's doing that, don't forget there's still time to get a copy of our survey guidelines ebook.
Yeah, I'll bring that up in a minute. So that went away too fast. So if you want more on this topic, there's only so much we can fit into these live sessions, but there is more out on our website, which is thebazone.com. I'm going to put this tiny URL that you see across the screen into the meeting notes so that you can get to the two topics in particular that we think really match well to this. And,
right, and that's meeting. That's what? Sorry. That's
sorry. What was that? It was agendas and interventions and be prepared tools for meetings.
Right. There you go.
And the other thing that we want to invite you to do, if you are enjoying this content, by all means, you can join our mailing list. And as a thank you, we will send you our free survey ebook. And you can do that by going to the bazone.com/survey ebook with no spaces. You just have to fill out a little form, confirm that, yes, you really do want this, which is a requirement of the mail service we're using. And then you will not only get our ebook, but we will also send you updates about what we're doing and new stuff that we're making available. And as soon as I finish coding it, you will also get automatic updates about when we're going to go live. So that is all coming soon.
And we'll even tell you the types of Christmas cookies we're baking this year, just to throw everything.
None. I don't bake.
She eats them, but she does not bake. Mama
this is
don't
true.
cook.
Yeah, it's all about, the balance. There are bakers and there are people who enjoy the cookies. I'm on the other side.
Okay, great. And don't forget, you can leave us questions or feedback in the comments section here on Facebook. Tweet or DM us on Twitter at the BA Zone, or you can go to our website, thebazone.com, and use our comment form. And remember to like us and subscribe to us in all the usual places.
And it looks like YouTube is working, so we're going to start to add that to our regular list.
Excellent.
So whatever platform you prefer, we're trying to be there for you.
And make sure you pencil us in next week when we continue with our series. And we're going to be talking about interface analysis. And that's Kathleen is our guru on that. Right?
I'll give you a little preview. It doesn't always mean what you think it means. It's one of those terms that you have to be really careful when you use it, because a lot of times people are talking like this because they think it means one thing, they think it means another, but they're all nodding their head yes. So we'll get into all that next week.
Excellent. Okay. I think that about wraps up our show for tonight, and we'll be back next Tuesday, and we hope you'll join us then. And please remember to tag us to your friends, your family, your coworkers, the strangers on the train, and anyone who will find this content helpful. And as always, we're here to help you own the zone of business analysis. And thanks again for coming by, and see you again soon.
So long.
Take us out, Kevin.
Oh, did that not work? Let's try that again. There we go.
Yay.